looking at a live shot of Albert Street, otherwise known as the Green Mile in the city of Regina, as we get set for the 2025 Saskatchewan Roughriders Grey Cup Parade. Welcome, everyone. My name is Lee Jones alongside Cole Davenport, and an exciting day for all Saskatchewan Roughrider fans as we get to see a parade hit the streets after that big victory over the Montreal Alouettes in Winnipeg. And Cole, it's maybe fitting. We could see maybe a bit of rain, but it's a gray day out there, and it's the Grey Cup, so why not?
Exactly. You know, and we've seen a lot worse weather over the years for some of the previous Grey Cup parades, partially because up until fairly recently, the Grey Cup was a bit later on in November, so maybe we're catching a little bit of a break that way. But in terms of weather conditions, this is going to feel like Vancouver compared to some of the Saskatchewan winter Grey Cup parades that we've had in the past. You were telling me about 2013. I wasn't at that parade, but I know that the temperatures were dipping down into the -15, -20 ranges. That's obviously a very different story from what we're looking at for this parade today.
Yeah, let's actually take a look back at some of the previous parades we've had here in Saskatchewan, starting with 2013, of course. That was the most recent one when the Saskatchewan Roughriders knocked off the Hamilton Ticats, Henry Burris, Kent Austin as well, to win in front of their home fans. Corey Chamberlain, of course, led the charge, along with the late Jim Hobson with the Grey Cup. And this was, as mentioned, -15, not so bad considering it was in the 20s, -30s during Grey Cup week, but warmed up nicely for that game itself. But a large crowd on hand to see the boys lift the Grey Cup, Weston Dressler and crew. And not a bad day for a parade for sure. So there was 2013. Now before that, 2007. And this, folks, was cold. The temperatures were -30 and lower for the 2007 Grey Cup parade. And as you can see, not a lot of people lined the streets for this one. They were all meeting at the Legislative Building because it was so cold. Some people waiting in their cars for the riders to eventually get there. As you can see, it was almost so personal because there wasn't a lot of people out there. It was so cold. There was high fives everywhere from Saskatchewan Roughriders. But once they arrived, Jeremy O'Day, who will arrive again with the Grey Cup, this time as general manager of Saskatchewan Roughriders. They moved inside and held their celebration there as well as everyone celebrated. Ken Austin, who was the head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders then, only once, and he won it with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So 2007, really cold, but they still were able to celebrate. We're going to show you one piece of video now. It's 1989. That was the second time the Riders won the Grey Cup in an exciting game versus the Hamilton Tiger Cats once again. Of course, it was Dave Ridgway with the kick. There was no parade back in 1989 because they held a rally at the stadium when the team came back, and you can see the crowd. Thousands and thousands of fans packed Taylor Field to say hello to their crew after winning that unbelievable rule. They beat Edmonton in the division final, Calgary in the division semifinal, and it was kind of a miraculous victory.
You know, the most interesting thing that we came across today was finding out actually that 2007 was the first Rider Grey Cup victory parade. Obviously, there have been Grey Cup parades in the past, but they usually took place as part of the Grey Cup festivities in wherever the host city was, and that changed a bit in 2007. And you've seen it grow over the two that we've had so far, and then today will be the third Rider Grey Cup parade once that gets going on Albert Street.
Yeah, the only video you didn't see, of course, was the first one, 1966. And speaking with Rider historian Rob Vanstone, essentially what the team did then was they went from the airport and moved on to the Armory to celebrate indoors. That was one of the biggest places indoors for them to celebrate, and they were able to do it that way. So yes, so this is the 5th Grey Cup, but technically the 3rd Grey Cup parade we are seeing in the city of Regina. Once again, a live shot of Albert Street. This is where it will start. The Riders will be coming from Mosaic Stadium down Elphinstone. They'll make the turn onto Albert Street, and this is where fans will catch a glimpse of some of their favorite players, including Trevor Harris, named most valuable player of the Grey Cup, the highest completion percentage ever, past Doug Flutie. Quite the accomplishment. Maybe not a surprise, though, Cole, considering throughout the season he had a streak of hitting high completion numbers, and that was kind of his thing. That was the way he was chucking the ball this year.
With the exception of maybe like a couple of games along the stretch there, like Trevor Harris's accuracy this season was just something to be studied, and it is something that I think Rider fans have been looking for quite a while, is that accurate throwing and pass catching. A bit of a return in some ways to that 2013 team as well, in the way it was built with that Canadian receiving core. That became such a huge part of that Rider offense this year. It allowed some more American presence on the offensive line that really opened up the channels for Trevor Harris to be able to make some of those accurate throws and give him the time that he needs to be able to complete the passes. As we saw, what was kind of a rotating receiving core over the course of the season. Donovan Mace had a lot of coverage on that this season of just all the different people that were lining up to make those catches, and time after time again, just receiver after receiver kept stepping up, showing what they were made of, and really helped contribute to this team and what was possible, and ultimately what ended up being the Saskatchewan Roughriders' 5th Grey Cup championship.
Yeah, you can see fans are starting to line up. They've been asked to line up on the west side of Albert Street because that's the side that the Riders will be coming down. I have to admit, I was wondering, is there any way I can get my 7-year-old out of school today? But none be it. I'm going to have to apologize to him. He's going to have to stay in school. He watched the game, though, made sure that he stayed up all night for that. Just wanted to touch, you did mention the Canadian Air Force that they had back in the late 2000s, 2010s, when it was Andy Fantus, Chris Getzlaff, and Rob Bagg. When you think about it, that was 3 receivers. They had 4 starting Canadian receivers for this Grey Cup championship because of the injury to Keyshawn Johnson couldn't play. Joe Robustelli couldn't get in, so you had a Joe. You had Schaefer Baker in there with Sam Emelis as well. Mitch Picton was ready to go just in case things. And, of course, Tommy Neild, who turned into Tommy Touchdown. Clutch catches for him. He had the winning touchdown against the BC Lions. And then in the Grey Cup game, in the second half, he made that big catch to set up the Tommy Stevens second touchdown. So we are ready to get going here as the floats are starting to make their way down. The vehicles are being that they're in will be courtesy of the Royal Canadian Air Force. The military is helping things out, so to speak, as we get underway here on Albert Street. And as you can see, already the waving is happening right now as we'll check to see who's going to be on that first vehicle to welcome the fans here in Regina.
Boy, it's just special to see, Lee. Like you mentioned it, I've heard a lot of people talking about this as well, that for a lot of people, this is their kids' first time, not just seeing the Riders play in a Grey Cup, but win one as well. And, a lot of the younger fans in the fan base also were probably around like 12, 13, teenage years the last time that the Riders won, too. So the amount of times I've heard people say how special it is to see your team win as an adult. And for the kids, it means everything, of course, too. Every member of this Rider team is just immortalized for any of the kids watching the game, and especially those who are at the parade today. We're starting to see a few of those come through. Another cool thing about this is we were talking earlier about 1966, and welcome to anyone who is just joining us for this special coverage of the Riders Grey Cup Championship Parade this afternoon. These vehicles likely coming in from the Armory where that 1966 celebration was held. So just like it really shows how deep the roots of this team run in this city, in this province. Just that a place like that is still kind of a main gathering point for any kind of big celebration, and Albert Street, of course, is too. You can see that the crowd has really grown in the last little bit here. Saskatchewan folks like to arrive just on time, not quite late, not necessarily early. They're there right when they need to be, and you can see just how excited everybody is along this parade route here, Lee.
I'm looking at the Skycam as we start to see the vehicles moving forward, led, of course, by a police car here from the Regina Police. The first vehicle does have Gaynor the Gopher in when we get a closer shot of it, along with cheerleaders. And then the second vehicle with players, coaches, personnel, and the special guests, the Grey Cup itself, will be in the second vehicle moving forward. As we get closer to our first stationary camera, we'll give you a good shot of Gaynor and, of course, the Grey Cup and who will be lifting the Grey Cup.
You know, this is actually going to be Gaynor's second appearance at the legislature since the start of this football season. He made an appearance there earlier with the premier, with some of my favorite pictures from the legislative session this week. So there's your news hook for a little bit of this parade coverage. Just car after car coming through here, and you can see behind them as well. We got a few other members of the convoy too. Just. It looks like a celebration. I got a little bit of FOMO, as they say, but this will work.
Well, they're coming a little bit closer. Once again, there's Gaynor, the famous Gaynor the Gopher, who will be in the first vehicle along with some of the cheerleaders leading the group to say goodbye. You know, the great thing about it is the way this is set. It's not freezing like it was in 2007. It's a good temperature, so they can go really slow and really give the fans their time with the team and show their appreciation. As you can see, they haven't really moved that much since we last saw them, as they just crossed the 12th Avenue junction. But it's a chance for them to show their appreciation to the fans. They kept saying when they won this Grey Cup, we're doing this obviously for the team, but for the local players, for the fans, for the province. We want to show their appreciation for what they've been for us this season. And if you're on Albert Street, or the fans that are there, they're going to love the two kids at the corner there jumping along. Yeah, they're going to show their appreciation for what they saw from their fans. And yes, we do have some shirtless players, which when Keenan Schaefer-Baker was shirtless at Mosaic Stadium, it was kind of a running joke. How many players are going to be shirtless for this event? Well, temperature-wise, we could have a lot of them out there, and we see 3 or 4 already.
Yeah, there's your answer for that one, Lee. You know, and from the very beginning of Corey Mace coming in and taking over this team, he said that he wanted to build a team that Saskatchewan was going to be proud of, and you can see just with how many people have come out to the Green Mile how much that mindset has not only paid off, but is really starting to stick here again. Lee, you spent a lot of the years covering the Riders. You've seen kind of some of the lower moments and some of the highest highs for this team. What do you see here?
Well, we see here comes our first group. We're just going to let it breathe a little bit. We're going to be quiet a little bit, and you can hear the crowd as the Grey Cup lifted one of many times so far with our first vehicle coming in. Some of the secondary in there in the first, maybe the big play, because it was Tavon Campbell that made that big play on the fumble of Shea Patterson that really got things going, that I can see on that first float. Milligan, Sales. The second group we got here is looks like personnel as well. That was pretty quick that they went through, to be honest with you. But on the third float, as you can see, we've got, looks like we've got some of the defensive line out there. I see Caleb Sanders sitting up top there with a big smile on his face. Defensive line, constant pressure they put on Davis Alexander throughout the Grey Cup, and didn't let him really get any breath, considering, I mean, he had a hurt hamstring. You had to put a lot of pressure in, and they were able to do that. The next float coming through, well, they've got the boombox of the music going, as you can see.
And there's Ouellette right at the back.
Yep, AJ Ouellette.
Not exactly surprised that he's one of the players that went tarps off.
But what a game he had. He really, I tell you what, he really showed what he can do running the football in that weather. And there is Corey Mace, head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, with his family. What a job he's done 2 years into this program. And they come fast and furious. More Saskatchewan Roughriders coming in. I see a Joe. It's tough to miss him. He's one of the great characters of this football team. It was nice to see him. I mean, not nice that he wasn't able to make the Indianapolis Colts, trying to make them in the NFL, but it was nice to see him return. I didn't see Trevor Harris, to be honest. It went by pretty fast, but we'll have other shots here and as we continue with the Grey Cup. But about 6 or 7 vehicles, along with Capital Ford sponsored vehicles following behind. But overall, not a bad day for this parade. And it won't be quick. It'll be interesting to see as well what Trevor Harris and Corey Mace will say to the crowd at the Legislative Building. Both are expected to make speeches when they arrive around 3 o'clock. They'll be let into the Legislative Building by Jim Ryder, Premier Scott Moe is not in the province. He's currently in Washington, so he will not be there for the celebration. So Jim Ryder and I believe former MLA Gene Mikowski, who of course had this celebration back in 2007, will be there on hand as well as we continue to see some of the vehicles make their way through.
Do you think Gene Mikowski is jealous of the weather today versus in 2007?
2007 was freezing. Absolutely. They don't have to worry about going inside as we see some more of the cheerleaders coming in the back, posing their celebration, as well as everyone team-wise is part of this celebration. As another shot there of the lead, Gaynor the Gopher, and that first vehicle that had a bunch of the secondary on hand. You know, players like Marcus Sales, the man who did recover that fumble, so important fumble, as well as you look at safety, CJ Rivas, who wasn't playing safety beginning of the season. They moved him back there because of injuries and did an extremely strong job playing safety for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Of course, he was originally playing strong side linebacker, but they moved him back there once the injuries happened to Lacombo. Ford was injured. Just seemed like the Canadians were getting really injured down there in the secondary.
Absolutely, and even over the course of the season, like that was one of several issues that the team dealt with over the course of the season. It's a football team. You're going to have some injuries over the course of the year, but just the way that this team was able to adapt and overcome any of those kind of challenges that in previous years, like once in a while, it's like, oh, the injuries piled up, the things like that, and these things do happen over the course of a football season. But that ability to adapt is really such a huge part of any team that can put together a championship like this, and now we got the parade to talk about for years to come, as every Rider Grey Cup is. You start to see more and more of that championship merch around, and to this day you still see an '89 Grey Cup hat from somebody once in a while. A lot of 2007s, those were a very popular piece of Saskatchewan fashion for many years. Same with 2013, of course.
Yeah, this is a shot of 2007. We were talking earlier again about how cold it was, and this is the difference. Basically in trucks and moving very fast because it was cold. So a little different now to get everyone on the military trucks and to drive fairly slow down Albert Street to make sure you get a good shot of everyone and pass along your praise for their victory, for sure.
You can also kind of see the lesser amount of layers in the crowd as well. Yeah. A bit less, a few less toques, a few a lot of gloves in that still, but the jackets aren't parkas this time around, and that just goes to show the range that Saskatchewan can get, especially in November. Here you can start to see the parade come down the Albert Street Bridge, which, fun fact, is the longest bridge over the shortest body of water in, I think, North America, maybe the world.
Maybe the world.
Maybe the world.
Yeah, they'll slowly be making their way once again to the Legislative Building, where we will hear speeches from Corey Mace and Trevor Harris. And I know you're probably wondering, if you don't live in Regina, if you're watching from elsewhere in Saskatchewan, that's great. But that's just Regina that has the parade. Well, of course, it is the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So during the off-season, you are going to see the players and the Grey Cup arrive very likely in your community to make this celebration happen. It was something that happened back in 2013. The organization has made it known it's very important that they want to make sure that this is Saskatchewan's team and that Saskatchewan has a chance to celebrate. So you're going to see it make its way up to Saskatoon, to Swift Current, to Yorkton, to Moose Jaw, to Prince Albert, to smaller centers as well. Even your hometown Estevan will get a chance to probably see it, Cole. So if you weren't able to make it, of course, to the parade today, and you hope that you're going to see a celebration, I guarantee you're going to see some representative of the Saskatchewan Roughriders bring that Grey Cup to your town or community.
Thinking back to 2013, I can't even keep track of the number of events that the Grey Cup was showing up at. So it is, one of those things that when Saskatchewan wins the Grey Cup, the celebration goes province-wide. 2013, my brother and I had the chance to carry the Grey Cup into Estevan's hockey arena at one point, and admittedly, that was hanging over my head a little bit because I had a Rider jersey on at the time, and they hadn't won another one since then. But that monkey is off my back now, so we can move on and join the celebration. And this continues several days of celebration in not just Regina but across the province as well. From that arrival yesterday to the Green Mile the night of the game. Police estimating somewhere around 1,500 to 2,000 people were at the corner of Albert Street and Victoria Avenue, right in downtown Regina, the very heart of the Green Mile. And of course, a couple of temporary Green Miles popping up in Winnipeg from people I've talked to who are at the Grey Cup as well. Just a huge contingent of Rider fans out that way. Luckily, weather was fantastic for people driving to and from the game in Winnipeg, and obviously getting to see moments like this, just incredible. It's so special, Lee.
Yeah, and another thing to mention too, no injuries, no arrests during that celebration on the Green Mile on Grey Cup night. Same thing happened in 2013. That's just a good indication of how Saskatchewan people celebrate. Happy, but calm.
There were a few times on the Green Mile where just, you wondered what what the vibe was going to be when you headed down there. Just so many people honking and just driving around. And you get down there and there's people playing music. I believe that gentleman was a former member of the Rider Pet Band. There was somebody with a boom box that they held above their head probably for 2 straight hours. So hopefully there were some stretches after or beforehand to get ready for that. Because some of those speakers, Lee, technology's come a long way, but holding the boombox in the air, that can still be quite the workout.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. As you are seeing, or were seeing, the footage of the Green Mile on that night. What is the team up to after this, after tonight? Well, there is one more avail, but more so for media. Tomorrow is what they used to call garbage bag day. It's essentially when you clean out your locker and you go home. I don't know if you can call it garbage bag day when you win. I mean, you are putting them in bags like that, all your equipment, but it kind of feels more like a returning home a hero day or something because of the success that they had. But they will clean out their lockers. Say one more media avail, including GM Jeremy O'Day. And the weird part is, as soon as that's over, I think Jeremy O'Day and a lot of the front office crew, the work begins for 2026. Can you repeat with a strong crew and a strong leadership under Corey Mace?
And there are still some lingering questions as well heading into the offseason, particularly on Trevor Harris's future. He hasn't indicated one way or the other, although I did hear some pretty loud chants from the team the other day of one more year.
Yeah,
so
he's not going
that seems to be kind of the way things are tilting for sure. But we're in news. We like to hear things 100% when we can once things get locked in. So any of that off-season coverage, of course, we'll have it as always. And you don't have to go anywhere also for the speeches at the legislature that are coming up a little later on, as we just wait for the procession to make its way up to the legislative building, where we have a camera standing by. Donovan Mace is also there for us. Also have some other roving reporters who are likely walking this parade today as well. So we're going to have lots of coverage for you tonight at 5 and 6. To kind of recap this parade, hear from some of the fans down there as well on their thoughts about the Riders' first Grey Cup in 12 years, which it's almost hard to believe that long had passed. It's especially with just everything that's gone on in the time since. We've had the COVID-19 pandemic that lost an entire CFL season, and the result of that was that the last Rider game before that was that 2019 West Final. And so, Rider fans had to sit with that for over a year, only for the season to come back, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers win the Grey Cup. Yeah. Again. So, it was, the Rider fans have been through a lot of adversity over the years. Yes.
But if you look at it, I mean, it has been 12 years since their last Grey Cup championship. But if you look at it, and they won in 2013 and 2007 in quick succession. So that's 3 championships in essentially 2 decades, when before that it took 4 decades to just win 2. So we're starting to see it more and more. We're not waiting as long to see the championship return to Saskatchewan. So we'll see what can happen. In 2007, a team that a lot of people felt could have been a dynasty or an icon. Right away, Ken Austin, unfortunately, had an opportunity that he couldn't pass by with college. And he went south of the border, and maybe that changed how things were going to shape up. Although, if you look at it, 2009 and 2010, they also made the Grey Cup. So 3 Grey Cup appearances in 4 years. And then in 2013, admittedly, it was up against the salary cap. Riders went over it knowing they were hosting. They essentially, what you see in junior hockey, they basically put all their eggs in that basket. They got it. And then, unfortunately, the next season, Darian Durant, they were off to a great start, looking like they might go back to the Grey Cup. And he gets injured in Winnipeg, that elbow. And then a year after that, it was his Achilles. So who knows what could have happened if those injuries didn't happen to Darian Durant. I've made it well known that I think I get a lot of trouble for it, but I think just what he did in a short time puts him in line along with Ron Lancaster as one of the best. I might argue he might be dangerous to go over that against the general as well, but definitely there were opportunities. And I think you were mentioning too, since we brought up the general, the little general, it's the littlest general maybe, Mark Mueller, who of course is the grandson of Ron Lancaster, offensive coordinator, calling that game. And we had a story on yesterday, and you saw his emotion of what that meant. You know, a kid that grew up in Regina, was a U of R Ram. For him to get to this moment was something special.
Mark Mueller tearing up had me tearing up a little bit, honestly. Like it just some of the raw emotion from him. Logan Ferland was another one where just like those hometown connections really come through, and you could hear some of the emotion on from him as well. It just it goes to show how much this team means to everyone in this province from all corners. You know, any community that's had somebody play for the Riders, like, you know about it. There's probably a sign at town limits telling you about where they went to school, what their maybe even what their stats were in high school, you know, depending. And some of these guys have come through the programs of like 6-man football, 9-man football, you know, all the way up through the 12-man programs in some of the bigger cities as well. And just like everybody in those programs.
There's Jackson Ford. I can see him in the very front, not the very front, but stopping a little bit. Revis and Milligan up front, holding that Grey Cup high. Number one, showing that they are number one. As the first vehicle makes its way inside in front of the legislative grounds. And they will continue to make their way in there. Once again, we will have coverage of their speeches. Trevor Harris and Corey Mace will address the crowd that is on hand. And as you can see, fans that were there on the streets slowly making their way to the grounds. Make sure that they can hear what the Riders have to say after that victory. 12-6 year, and they went all the way. Usually the Riders, you know, maybe back in 66, they were known, but 89 was an obvious upset. 07, they had to go into the Western Final and beat the BC Lions and, you know, Dave Dickinson. And in 2013, it may have been at home, but they weren't the favorite again because they had to go to Calgary in the Western Final. This is kind of the one year where, from wire to wire, they had the best record in the CFL, and they found a way to get to the Grey Cup game and win it as well. So, well-deserving for sure as we get to see more players starting to make their way in.
Those Calgary teams around the 2010s, Lee, like some of those Calgary teams were very, very good. And honestly, Calgary this year, the way that they had beat the Riders a few times in the regular season, I was starting to worry that maybe we were looking at history, maybe not repeating itself, but rhyming this year in some of the playoff games. But fortunately, they won it. BC ended up being who they played in that West Final. Not an easy team to beat either, with Nathan Rourke, of course, the MOP candidate. Western finalist for that as well.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it was SR time, as Trevor Harris likes to say, which kind of sounds like it's our time, and that's kind of one of their mottos of this championship as we get to see more players coming in. Looks like we've got the offensive line. I see several players that are quite recognizable, and now the vehicle that you're seeing, as you can see, we've got some personnel in there that are some staff, as well as some of the players. And yes, you might want to call this one the party bus.
I think that'd be accurate.
Dante Myers, a Joe there at the top, passing along his celebration. You got a few players that are a little more.
Oh, we got some dance moves on there as well. Don't try this at home.
For anyone that's watching this, let's remember not to try this at home. These are not just professionals; they're literally professional athletes. So, but the crowd yelling loudly. Once again, you got Myers and Joe really soaking this in. Myers, another player too that really broke out this season, getting over 1,000 yards receiving. And a big catch that set up the Tommy Neal touchdown in that Western Final. You can hear in the backdrop, that's actually Sabine Ahmed with our, she's part of the ceremonies today. That is our weather person. So we're going to go to the podium and see what they're saying.
Season filled with grit, heart, and pure determination. Your 2025 Grey Cup champion, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, are home.
being a part of today. These guys are excited to get them off the truck, so why don't we do that? The 2025 Grey Cup champions, your Saskatchewan Roughriders!
One more time! They couldn't hear us. We're too loud. The Saskatchewan Roughriders!
Hold on. Somebody do me a favor real quick. I'm gonna say rider, you guys say nation, okay? Loud and proud though, from the chest, from the heart. Rider! 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 We love you. Thank you for being there. Let's go, Riders!
Riders.
Go, Riders!
And that's Jamarcus Hardrick now, of course, won the award for top offensive lineman in the CFL. Once a rival with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Last year, he had an injury he thought may have ended his career, but now a chance to celebrate as a Rider and a Grey Cup champion. Players now going out into the crowd and giving everyone high fives. That's this really is a moment, Cole.
You know, it comes back to one of those mottos that the team took up all season. That was for the S. And I'm surprised nobody come up with that before, honestly, because like that is really what it is about. That S representing not just the team, not just the players, but this whole province. You know, it's a symbol that if you see an S on green and white, most sporting events around the world, you'll probably see a Rider jersey somewhere in there if you look hard enough.
They always seem to pop up in some of the most important sporting events, for sure. And these players, thankful for the opportunity. This is going to be a lot of their last chances when they end up leaving either tomorrow or Thursday out of Saskatchewan. Their last chance to really get close to the fans and thank them for all the support they've received through this season. Quite the season for them at 12-6 and Grey Cup champions. You can see the players soaking it in as well. I see Andrew Harris, a coach. I see Samuel Emelis there to the left, number 19. He's got his phone out. They want to record this just as much to remember the experience. And there, of course, is what it's all about.
Well, now we got the Grey Cup heading through the crowd. These are the kind of moments that people are going to remember from this Grey Cup run forever.
And it makes sense it is Jamarcus Hardrick making it through. He was the first one to lift the cup at the game. I thought it might have been Trevor Harris, but, you know, he's almost a little bit of the heart of the Saskatchewan Roughriders as well. The excitement he always showed for every time one of his players would score a touchdown. He'd run all the way down to the end zone to congratulate them, jump on them. But also, once again, as mentioned, the injury he suffered last year. Thought that maybe that was his time. He was done, but he kept fighting. And he was able to get back to this, and just another person that showed never to give up and was able to lift this trophy and let the fans touch something that they haven't seen here in Saskatchewan in 12 years.
You mentioned Andrew Harris as well, and you want to talk about somebody who spent a lot of years playing for rival teams and is now a Grey Cup champion with the Saskatchewan Roughriders as a coach, but still, you know, the ring is all the same. I'm a bit surprised we haven't seen any Corey Mace dance moves at
We might during the speech, to be honest.
He's saving him for the speech. That would make sense.
as Jamarcus Hardrick's going to return to the front with the Grey Cup as the team gathers and soaks in the joy that they're feeling from Rider Nation. And another thing, too, I just have to point out, for anyone that grew up in the 80s and 90s, those starter jackets. We saw the white ones that Milligan was wearing. I saw a couple other players. Those are pretty nice. I've had a lot of people that have kind of wanted to get those. So there'll be, once again, lots of merch you can get with Saskatchewan Roughrider Grey Cup champion merch on their site. Things are going fast, I understand.
Oh yeah, from what I've heard, one round is already done. More is on the way, and for now though, just have to wait for that next shipment to come in.
I'd love to tell you who was on the microphone there, but I couldn't see, unfortunately. Here we go. Yep, it's a Joe again. Here we go.
Let's do it, man. We ain't going to work for about 3 months. We gonna celebrate. Let's do it.
Jamarcus Hardrick with the cup, getting a shot with Trent Weatherspoon, NDP MLA, with the Grey Cup. That's something he's going to enjoy for sure. Now, originally, these speeches were supposed to start at 3 o'clock. They may have gotten there a little faster. I'm not sure if they're going to continue mingling for another 25 minutes. I doubt that. But once again, once they get going, the program will get underway. We will hear from Corey Mace, we'll hear from Trevor Harris. They're supposed to be going inside as well. Usually the Grey Cup is shown on the balcony, the Premier's balcony, just in front of the legislature, where the flag is flying right now. Usually it shows up, but we'll have to wait and see. That happened in 07 and that happened in 2013, both years.
And 89 as well, we did have a little bit of video of that from
yes.
back in the day.
And back in 89, they had a little like I mentioned, there was just a rally, no parade, but they did have a little thing at the legislative building where they did give the players watches and thanks and appreciation for what they did in that unbelievable run back in 1989.
Also a massive reception at the airport in 1989 as well, which was actually something that has changed quite a bit since this year when the Riders flew in. They were just straight onto the buses. There was no opportunity to catch them at the airport, and that's what you had that welcome on Monday at Mosaic Stadium for, was to give fans that opportunity to welcome them back as well. Had that the 2025 Grey Cup Champions banner above the Riders store ready pretty quickly, and good to see.
Can't see, but I think that's Jurgen Hughes, a local player as well, who passed the Grey Cup to a couple of fans on the right side there. They'll keep a nice picture for sure, but they'll keep an eye on that cup as well, to be honest with you.
You can also see you can see a number of the politicians working inside the ledge, making their way out onto the front steps as well. From what we understand, question period today was fairly truncated, we'll say. And everyone pretty much had a Rider jersey underneath their suit today. I'm not sure how that jives with the dress code in the legislature, but I think for today everyone's letting it slide.
I missed who was coming down the truck there, but as you see, the players have gathered, and there's Mark Mueller. I see him in the front. We mentioned him and his excitement. Cracking open a drink, as one does. Mueller, with the way he called that game, was fantastic, especially in that fourth quarter when you thought they were going to run, and he set up that pass to Samuel Emelis that Harris hit him on the sidelines that brought them further in. Now, they didn't get any points out of that, but I found that was a play where everyone thought it was just going to be A.J. Ouellette to run out the clock, and they were able to catch the Alouettes maybe a little off guard. It was a great call, and one of many calls that I think worked well for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I know Mueller, because he's such a young offensive coordinator, there's always going to be criticism considering his experience, but in his 2 years. You can't argue with what he's been able to do with Trevor Harris at the helm.
There's been there were a couple of play calls over the course of the season that, while maybe not popular, paid off big time. And the one that stands out most to me is the decision to take the 3 points towards the end of the West Final. And that's a team that doesn't just trust the defense, doesn't just trust the offense. All of them trust each other to get the job done. And even if the fans, at least I don't know about you, but in my section, were none too happy with that in the moment, it obviously paid off big time.
Not just that one, too. The punt on the next possession that they had to stop them. They couldn't allow 1 first down, and great play by A.J. Allen on 2nd down when Rourke had the delayed draw to try to find the first down, didn't get it. And then the Riders offense took over and were able to have some big plays to Emelis, to Myers, and then, of course, Tommy Neild. Touchdown Tommy with such a pivotal play.
We've had a lot of good touchdown scorers named Tommy this season, as it happens.
Tommy Stevens.
Tommy Stevens, 2 touchdowns in the Grey Cup. You know, you can't beat that. Like, that is a stat line that you probably only have once. All right, you can hear Sabine looking to get everybody in line to get this show on the road, so we'll let them take it from here.
This incredible group to the top of the CFL. A leader with passion, a coach with fire, a man who brought belief, swagger, and a Grey Cup championship back to Saskatchewan. He is the heartbeat on the sidelines and the architect of this championship run, and the coach who delivered the 2025 Grey Cup to Rider Nation. Rider fans, make some noise! Coach Mace, are you with us?
I'm right here.
Hey, what's Coach James?
Where is he?
I got something to say.
He's coming. Karina's gonna go. Coach Mace?
Who the hell's Mace? When in doubt, put a show in front. Let me hold that bit.
All right, one more time, Coach Corey Mace!
Bean, come on, baby. Come on, Bean. Rider Nation, what's going on? Hey, the first thing is this. As a staff, when we first came to Saskatchewan, we knew it was going to be crazy, but this is something else. Much love. Let's go! Hey, look, so much goes into this. There's so many thank yous to go around. Everybody in the Riders organization, from the 4th floor to the equipment guys, Gordy, Toy, to the ticket office, everybody, much love. The trainers, much love. The coaches, let me tell you guys something right now. You have the hardest working coaching staff in the entire league, baby. To the volunteers, all the volunteers who show up for the team, for Rider Nation, much love. And lastly, and most importantly, how about your Saskatchewan Roughriders? They keep talking about how there was only 4 championships in Riders history. Hey, we got 5 right now, and we ain't willing to stop, baby. Let's keep it rolling. I need a chant. Let's go one more time. Go, Riders, go. Say something.
province ever again. Coach Corey Mace, one more time. Give it up for him.
I almost forgot. Man, you better get your damn season tickets right now. Goddamn, let's go.
All right, this next guy we are going to introduce is just a hard-working dude, and we love him here in Saskatchewan. He runs the ball like a maniac. He breaks tackles. He hurdles guys. Yeah, you know who it is. Put your hands together for number 45, AJ Ula.
Rider Nation, we did it, baby. Let's go. Hey, since I got here, you showed me love, and I appreciate every single one of you. Let's go. I love you, Rider Nation. We're champions. One more time, let me hear you, Rider Nation. Bring your rights. Come on.
All right, we're gonna keep this going.
You gotta fight for your rights. Come
All right. Next up, Rider Nation, we have a homegrown champion. He dominates the line of scrimmage, protecting his teammates and paving the way for the offense. You've seen him hold the pocket. You've seen him draw defenders back. You've seen him play with pure heart, pure power, and pure Saskatchewan pride. He's a fortress in front of our quarterback, the backbone of the offensive line, a Grey Cup champion born and built right here in Saskatchewan. Rider Nation, get loud for your homegrown Grey Cup champion, Logan Furley!
Hey, quick shout out, Mr. Speaker, Todd Gowdy. Thank you for your hand, sir. We're Grey Cup champs forever, baby. 2025 Grey Cup champs. Come on, feed him, feed him. Let's go, Rider Nation! This was for you! Let's go! Come on!
One more time, Rider Nation. Let's hear it for Saskatchewan boy Logan Furlan. Drinking beer like a Saskatchewan boy, too. All right, this next guy just made play after play throughout the year and in the Grey Cup, and he was the most outstanding Canadian in the Grey Cup. Put your hands together for number 19, Samuel MLS.
Hey! First of all, I want to thank Linnipeg for the hospitality. With Linnipeg, well, hey, we champions, and we're gonna make it again next year. We just getting started. Let's go, Rider Nation. Let's go.
We want Michael Johnson! We want Michael Johnson! Michael Johnson! Michael Johnson! Michael Johnson!
the world to us. And this for y'all, man. This for y'all. All the support, all the ups, all the downs. This for y'all, baby. So let's give it up for Rider Nation. Special. This is your guys' moment as well. We've always had the best fans in the league, and now we've got the best dang team in the league to match you guys, man. We thank you so much. And it's been awesome. This is our 5th title, but something we've never done is go back to back. So let's go ahead and start talking about that. Let's go back next year. We're the best team in the league next year, man. We love you all. This is the Rider Nation. It's all the time.
All right, one more time, Rider Nation.
Give it up for your Saskatchewan Roughriders!
Let's go, Rider Nation. Y'all was looking for something, right?
Hold on.
It's home, baby. We want to thank you guys for all the support all year. From the top to the bottom, we bought this home for Saskatchewan. All my teammates came to work every day. We love you guys. It was more than us. This Grey Cup is for us. 2025. Grey Cup champs forever, baby. Let's go, baby.
All right, players, can you get up on the stairs? We want to get a team photo of all y'all. So if you could please squeeze up on these stairs. Okay, I need to get out of the way.
All right, that seems to be the end of at least the formal speeches. I got a few more riders with a few things to say. It appears, you know, as the mood is through the roof, as you can tell from watching any of those speeches. Getting the last word from Jamarcus Hardrick there, who, like we talked about, one of the guys who just worked so hard this season, and to come back from that injury last year as well. Yeah. This has got to mean everything today.
Definitely means everything. The speeches were very much like, I feel, their defense, planned and controlled chaos, which is how they played. You never know what they knew what they were going to do, but you had no idea what was coming in your direction if you were the opponent. So yes, they will be making their way in. You're going to see them on the balcony. We will not leave you until we get to see the Grey Cup on the balcony by the Premier's balcony. But some great speeches for sure there. I know Micah Johnson probably had the tamest speech, but you know, here's a guy who's seen it in different levels with the Calgary Stampeders and you know, the Saskatchewan Roughriders and all across the CFL, and his love for Corey Mace. Him and Corey Mace extremely close because Micah Johnson and Corey Mace played a little bit together in Calgary, so their love for each other and just their friendship extremely special. We mentioned Dante Myers and what he did in his second season with Saskatchewan. Injury kind of shortened that first one after he showed signs of what he could do, and boy did he ever break out. Unfortunately, you know, he had four receiving receptions for 76 yards in a Grey Cup game. That's something that he'll always remember, along with 1,000 yards receiving that he had his way.
Does Logan Ferland get the title of last Saskatchewan Pirate? You saw his hat there for a minute.
Yeah, And once again, if we do apologize for any of the language that you may be hearing, this is live. To be honest, championship parades in the last 5 to 6 years have taken a bit of a turn to this style where you just have some people having a lot of fun, and sometimes it turns into a bit of a frat party, which is great because everyone's excited. Everyone is thrilled to death for this moment. And you know what? From every champion team you've learned, they are going to party. Maybe everyone says 1999. They're going to party like it's 1989 for the next couple of days to celebrate what they've been able to achieve. And they'll make their way here very shortly in as taking their time. As we pan the crowd, you know what? A pretty good crowd showing up today. I mean, you can't really just drop everything and show up.
Well, there's one of our camera guys walking right by. Like you said, we'll have more coverage for you tonight at 5 and 6 as well. With some angles that you haven't seen in addition to what we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that we did see today, Lee, is that obviously team plans to party hard. But from what we're hearing in some of those speeches, they plan to work harder next season even. With even Trevor Harris saying that they're looking for back-to-back. They want to make this more than a one-off for this team. And obviously that goes to show like the kind of group that the Riders have been able to build here to lead to this moment. And Trevor Harris wasn't the first one to make that call. I wasn't sure who else was in the speeches there. They moved a little quickly at points there, but you know that would be that'd be something special, especially for this team, as that's something, as Trevor Harris mentioned, that the Riders have never done.
Right.
They've made back-to-back Grey Cups, of course, being in 09 and 2010, but haven't won 2 back-to-back. So that's a lofty goal, but one that obviously Rider Nation would love to see. And if they manage to pull that off, Lee, I'd be willing to bet that this crowd will be double, if not triple, the size that we see today.
And for those wondering, I think I did say AJ Ouellette, so he did not completely run away. I wasn't sure if he was going to run back to Mosaic Stadium after his speech, but he is back there. One guy we did not hear from, and we will probably hear from tomorrow during their final media availability, GM and VP of Football Operations, Jeremy O'Day. And, you know, 2 years ago, he was a guy that was on a bit of a hot seat after things did not go well, after missing the playoffs in back-to-back seasons, and people were wondering, could he find the right people to do the job? And you look at some of the people that, you know, they brought in under his watch. The top Canadian in the Grey Cup game was Samuel Emelis. He was a draft pick under this regime, and what a player he's been. He had 1,000 yards last year, probably would have done the same if it wasn't for injury this year. And then, of course, 10 catches, the most by a Rider in a Grey Cup game for 108 yards, and, of course, most Canadian. He's the one who brought in Trevor Harris. Trevor Harris was coming off, you know, tough results. Didn't do as fair as well as he wanted to. He's moving, you know, of course he started with the Argos and Ottawa. He had opportunities. He won Grey Cups as a backup then, but then he's moved around. He went to Edmonton. Trying to remember, I think he went to Montreal as well, and it didn't seem like it was going to click, and people were wondering maybe it's not going to click for him, even though he had great numbers, he had a great resume. But then he came in here, helped the team, even with huge injuries that took him out for last year. They were still able to finish in second place. And then, of course, this year, what he was able to do, only missed that one game due to injury, came right back up. And a lot of people have talked about how he keeps his body in shape. He's probably one of the guys that really focuses on that. And he looked great. And it's, you know, 23 for 27, 302 yards in a Grey Cup game. Sure, no touchdowns, but he set up a lot of them with his passing. It's hard for me to say, yeah, it's a great story to retire and win as a champion in your last year. But then when you're still putting up numbers like that, you're getting protected like that with the offensive line, who he admitted he didn't even know if he got hit. He did get hit, but he didn't get hit or sacked hard, that's for sure. That's maybe you can go another year. Maybe you can go another 2 years. Who knows?
And that's the thing, and that's the kind of doors that a strong offensive line can open for not just an offense, but for a team in general. It can, you know, it can add to that longevity. It can add to this and that. You know, and another key piece of the Riders blocking this season, AJ Ouellette has been huge. Yeah, it's like at times it's like having another offensive lineman in behind the line to pick up that incoming blitzer or what have you. You know, and that has been a huge thing. You saw a few of those big blocks in the Grey Cup game as well. And that is the beauty of having a running back that can do that blocking in addition to being able to run the football like just a bull running for a red tarp, you know, like it's crazy.
Yeah, and you know, he mentioned that he wanted to show that the Riders made the right move because they brought him in here and he felt like he didn't perform, and admittedly he was not 100% and didn't do that well in his first season, but this year he was fantastic. I admit, when he was brought back for a second season, I was worried that he was going to be banged up again and they were going to be in trouble, and he proved me wrong. He was fantastic this season, and then in the most clutch games, in your playoff games, ran fantastic against the Beastie Lions and, you know, scored a touchdown, had some big 10-yard runs, several runs against the Montreal Alouettes. He showed up when he needed him the most. Reminded me a little bit of the you know, West Cates in 2007 where, you know, he was able to run the ball extremely well. Had an injured foot. He had to inject his foot to try to make sure that he can still run on the thing. And he was able to get the job done, even though, you know, it was defense and it was the running game and a little bit of key passes like that one to Andy Fantus that won them the championship. And it was similar here. Key passes by Trevor Harris that led to those 2 Tommy Stevens touchdown and A.J. Ouellette touchdown, and some great running and some pivotal defense. You know, Tavon Campbell getting the interception on the bad throw by Davis Alexander and then forcing that fumble late on Shea Patterson, a former Rider, that's recovered by Marcus Sales on the goal line, allows them to move it out to the 30-yard line instead of being on the 1-yard line. And that was the turning point. That was the play. You know, in 07 it was the, you know, James Johnson with his 3 interceptions, you know, one for a touchdown. So, and his interception stopped that last drive that essentially sealed the deal once West Cates was able to run for a first down. So I find a little bit of similarities between those two teams. And to be honest, I mean, that team, even though Kent Austin left, grew into the 2009 and 2010 teams. And we all know 09, it was so close to them winning that one too. 10 could have gone either way against the Montreal Alouettes. So maybe they do have the formula. Maybe they do have the formula to try to make this not a one and done.
Getting back to Ouellette, and speaking of running backs that play some smash mouth football, do you think we see an appearance from Marshawn Lynch in Saskatchewan sometime next season? You know, because I didn't even realize that he was teammates with Corey Mace on the Buffalo Bills at one point. So there is that kind of connection, and also another player from a game where things were decided by a critical turnover in the end zone in that Super Bowl between Seattle and New England.
Yeah, they don't like to talk about that game.
No, they do not. So we'll leave it there.
For sure. That is their 2009 moment for Seahawk fans, and I know a few of them here in Canada. So once again, they will be moving inside, and we will see the Grey Cup on the balcony of the premiers. We will not leave until then, so we will continue looking at the team currently on the stage as the cheerleaders now. We'll listen to them doing a little bit of a performance. And freeze. So we will continue with our celebrations here at the Legislative Building. Once again, this is the wrap-up part of the 2025 Grey Cup Parade for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They knocked off the Montreal Alouettes in their rivals' stadium in Winnipeg. Always sweet. I know that winning the Grey Cup in 2013 in their home field was something special for Rider fans, and there's something special about winning in your opponent's stadium as well. Winnipeg had a chance to do that a couple of years ago in 2022, but fell to the Toronto Argonauts. The Riders were able to do it against the Montreal Alouettes, and that snapped a bit of a 3-year streak for Eastern teams. Toronto, Montreal, Toronto winning the Cup. It looked like all of a sudden they were getting a bit of a streak going, but Riders were able to snuff that out.
First Western team since, it would have been the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in 2021. That really puts it into perspective, you know, how much the league has been kind of shifting the last few years. You know, and obviously a lot of those games where the Eastern teams won were the Winnipeg Blue Bombers facing off against the Argos and then
in Winnipeg 5 straight times, even before the pandemic. 2019, Winnipeg, that was the first year. Of course, there was the doink from Cody Fajardo hitting the uprights in the final play in the Western Final that moved the Bombers on, and the Bombers went on to beat Hamilton to get their first Grey Cup since 1990. So in the West, really, it's been the Prairies. It's been Winnipeg 5 straight years, and Saskatchewan now that have represented the West. So we'll see if they can kind of keep that Prairie power going. And what's interesting is, as we're starting to see the players make their way, with Jamarcus Hardrick waving the flag as other players are now coming out, there's a chance Saskatchewan can make this a hat trick of champions. Saskatoon Hilltops won a Canadian Junior Championship,
That's right.
the Canadian Bowl. The Huskies are in the Vanier Cup this week. If the Huskies win, then that means the Vanier Cup, the Canadian Bowl, and the Grey Cup all won by Saskatchewan teams. That's never been done before. We've seen the Canadian Bowl and the Grey Cup won in the same year, but never the Vanier Cup. We'll see if they can make it a hat trick this weekend.
Hey, and if they do, it's another Saskatchewan-Montreal matchup, as it's the U of S Huskies up against Montreal for the Vanier Cup, and of course that game is going to be played at Mosaic Stadium.
And there it is, the Grey Cup on the balcony.
This is a tradition dating back at least to 1989. Would have to check with Rob Vanstone to see if that goes back to 1966 as well. But every year that the Riders have won the Grey Cup, it comes out to the Saskatchewan legislature and right onto the balcony here, as we see today.
CJ Rivas, we see Dante Myers, he's getting the cup now. Jamarcus Hardrick is mentioned with the flag. Jürgen Hughes in the hat in the background.
We've got a bit of a Simba moment going on for whoever's behind the flag there. Fantastic.
And one of the local boys. Jürgen Hughes waited so long to do that, lifting the cup. Guys like him, Jackson Ford, Mitch Picton, Logan Furlan. There's a bunch of local people local Saskatchewan players that had the chance to win this. Something, fans have been waiting for a long time to win it in Saskatchewan with a team that they've followed as a kid.
And especially for Jürgen Hughes, having joined the team, if not the season after, within a couple of years of that 2013 Grey Cup, and being with the Riders for most of that stretch, to get this moment, that's huge.
Players continue to get their opportunity. And fans aren't leaving, I'll tell you that right now. They're sticking around and they're staying around to celebrate. See this Grey Cup lifted by multiple players of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. You continue to hand the cup off. This is AJ Ouellette with the cup now. Had to stay at Trevor Harris's house before the Western Final because he basically lives in a trailer during the season, and they shut up all the water, the power. He had to move in somewhere else, so stayed with Trevor Harris, and maybe that was the right recipe. Who knows?
And that's part of what led up to that big group interview that you might have saw on TSN and here on CTV after the Grey Cup as well, where it was a big group. It was basically the whole Harris family plus AJ Ouellette and a couple others joining into that, as well as just it's again a team that's supported each other. Trevor Harris and AJ Ouellette especially have a strong bond, both being from Ohio. From what we've heard over the course of the season, when it lines up, they often fly to and from Ohio together, as they're both from that state. And then, of course, becoming roommates in the later stages of the season, as it becomes harder to live in a trailer once you get into the start of the Saskatchewan winter. And now we see the payoff where maybe that'd be quite the sitcom.
Yeah,
the roommates Trevor Harris and AJ Ouellette.
Kean Schaefer-Baker was lifting the Grey Cup. Of course, he had injuries that bothered him throughout the season. And I think that's Brett Lothar. Not getting a good look at him. And man, he had a tough season kicking the football, but He still gets to call himself champion. He's now a father as well. So some exciting times as they're calling Trevor Harris in. Not sure the top's supposed to twist like that, but as we see A.J. Allen now standing by the cup. What a season he had.
An excellent season.
Yeah, Allen, of course, coming in after the injury to C.J. Avery and came in at weak side linebacker and was absolutely spectacular. Some big picks, some big tackles, as mentioned in the Western Final against Nathan Rourke. And a Canadian boy that really allowed them to shift the ratio, allowed them to play 4 American linemen in that offensive linemen in that Grey Cup game.
I have it right that he was their nominee.
He was their nominee
for Canadian as
yes.
well.
Yes.
Yes. And there goes someone's T-shirt. Was that Kean Schaefer-Baker again?
I'm going to guess it was. Can't really see from this far out, but yes, Schaefer-Baker.
Well, at least it looks like he's headed back inside, so.
As the Grey Cup continues its journey on the balcony. Oh, the places that cup has been in Canada.
You know, even if the top did twist a little bit, Lee, still not quite the.
Now this is fantastic. The late George Reed's wife lifting the Grey Cup with some help from A.J. Ouellette. That's a nice gesture.
And especially for Ouellette, who in Toronto wore number 34. He gave that number up when he came to Saskatchewan out of respect for George Reed, and went back to 45, which he wore in college, of course. And you know, it just goes to show that even amid these kind of maybe a little rowdy celebrations, that this team will take a moment to.
They're still thinking of people. Wayne Mantika also making an appearance on the balcony. You never know where Wayne Mantika's going to be, but he's up there. I saw him sitting down. There he is. Ah, Wayne. Always finds a way to get the story, doesn't he? Also saw Ariel Zier, who is the head of communications with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Helps out with media. See her as well on the sidelines during games. As a Joe, I'm pretty sure that's a Joe. Gets his time with the Grey Cup. Nope.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is, yes.
And the fans really sticking around for the victory tour on the balcony of the legislature. You can still hear the cowbells and everything. It sounds like game day almost in front of the legislature.
Can't blame them, though. I mean, you get to see the championship trophy, and it's being unveiled by every single player, getting a chance to lift it up and show, give a chance to show their appreciation.
And as we talked about earlier, you know, that if you weren't able to make it into Regina for this celebration today, you can bet that there's going to be all kinds of celebrations across the province with the Grey Cup trophy over the course of the offseason as the Riders look to make this a provincial celebration of this championship, and again, and the first in 12 years.
You saw the receiving core there. I saw Emilus, Schaefer-Baker, A couple more players just getting together. You saw Joe. Once again, we've talked about this receiving core, and it just seemed to, every time there was an injury, somebody stepped up, whether it was Joe Robustelli, who had a fantastic game against the Calgary Stampeders. It was a loss, but he kind of broke out there, showing that he can be a player that can get the job done as well. And it seems they've got a lot of receivers that are able to do that. And Dante Myers, I believe, lifting the puck or the cup up. We've already talked about his breakout year and what he was able to do as well. And I know that's a player that they want to make sure doesn't leave. They knew he was going to be a good one last year. Just injuries knocked him off the pedestal a little bit, and he was able to get things rolling once again. I'm not sure the Riders are going to leave.
They may have trouble getting them out of the balcony there by the looks of things.
I can see Mace with one of his children there to the side, giving a wave.
To the crowd. Yeah, that's awesome.
Or with his child, excuse me, and Petra's there as well to make sure all goes well. Petra, the wife of Corey Mace, says
it looks like the team's getting ready for something here. Oh, maybe just a Snapchat or a reel or something like that.
Yeah, you got to ensure you get that social media in there.
That's definitely something that's grown quite a bit since the last time the Riders won the championship.
Absolutely. Just making sure that it's approved on Joe, the photo.
Which iPhone were we on in 2013 when when they won last time?
That's
now we're up to, what is it, 15?
Yeah, I felt it was like 2 or 3, but.
And then for a while you couldn't even get the iPhone on SaskTel. I remember that. So maybe you had one in 2013.
Yep, they continue to take their pictures with the Grey Cup. The receiving core really getting their opportunity here.
Which, like that balcony, that's one of the best views you're going to get in Regina. So. Got to make use of the scenic background for the Insta, etc.
I did see Craig Reynolds made his way to the balcony. He was on the right side of the balcony, of course, the Riders president, CEO, another guy that was facing a lot of heat a couple of years ago, and we'll see if he still is, though. He got to get more sellouts in that stadium. We'll see if this championship is able to do that for them, but the merch sales are going to go through the roof, that's for sure.
Oh, that's for sure. Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to compare and contrast of if the merch sales boost from the championship gear is on the same level as the merch boost from the Obsidian jerseys launched last year. You can't hardly go anywhere without seeing that logo somewhere. That's been a huge success for this team. And it won't be very long before you won't be able to go anywhere without seeing one of those white championship hats as well.
Also with Craig Reynolds on that right balcony, the mayor of Regina, Chad Baczynski.
In an Obsidian jersey, look at that. It's like we planned it.
With the number 24, which is the year the jerseys came out. Also the year that he became mayor.
That makes sense. Do you think he gets a 25 for the Grey Cup championship? You know, being mayor during a Grey Cup, that hasn't happened in a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
And there's things they have to do. Remember, in Mosaic Stadium, they have a ring of the years they've won, and there was that space open waiting for that next one. They got some work to do to put 2025 up in there. And there's also there was a barrel of Weisers that was sitting in Mosaic Stadium that wasn't going to be opened until they won the Grey Cup, and we're checking into that to when that will be unveiled. So. People that enjoy Weisers might be excited to know when they might be able to get their hands on a sample of that.
There might be a few people that are at this parade today that enjoy a little bit of that as well.
Now the Riders, many of them gathering right in the middle now to take a big picture.
This looks like the team photo to me as everybody kind of squeezes in.
I am afraid of heights, by the way, so I would be extremely nervous if I was one of the edge guys, but these guys have no fear. We saw that in the field. We're seeing that now.
Oh, yeah, got to get the high angles. Oh, that's good. You know, that just goes to show that This is a celebration that this team's going to remember for a very, very long time.
Yeah. Crowd, we haven't seen a shot of the crowd, but they're still as loud. I'm not sure they're leaving.
They might stay there till next year if they have another parade.
There's Milligan lifting the trophy one more time. Yeah, and their defensive backs, you know, they did take a bit of heat early on in the season for all the big plays they were giving up, but sure, there were a couple big plays as well in the Grey Cup, but when it counted on, they made some extremely huge plays. Marcus Sales with his child there on the left side of them, kind of having the Lion King moment as well for his child.
Now he has a bit of a unique path to the green and white as well, spending time with the Hamilton Tiger Cats for several seasons, and then making his way to Saskatchewan via free agency after he was cut by the Ticats.
Lions.
It was the Lions. The other cat-related team in the league.
Do you know who he also played for?
Who's that?
The Bombers. So he probably enjoys winning that Grey Cup in that stadium as well. Probably felt a little bit at home, especially on that goal line when he recovered that football. The turning point once again to the 2025 championship for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Get used to it, the Saskatchewan 2025 Grey Cup champions. You're going to be hearing that a lot throughout the end of the year and into the start of 2026.
You know, it's I know some folks have those championship banners you can get with all the Grey Cups hanging up in their basements and what have you, where they're wherever you watch the game, and you might need to get a new one of those, or at least take up some embroidery lessons and figure out how to put a 25 underneath that 2013. And you know, again, the way this team is talking, maybe keep some space open for the future.
AJ Allen taking a photo of the Grey Cup. As I mentioned, Marcus Sales lifting up his child, Brett Lothar, also a new dad recently during the season. And Dante Myers, a lot of time with the cup so far. And back to Brett Lothar, as we mentioned before. A tough season for him, but this is what he's played for all those years, is to get a Grey Cup championship, and he was able to do that.
And especially after, there were how many seasons where he was by far the Riders' leading point scorer of the season, you know, just from how many field goals he'd end up kicking. You know, there's a huge payoff to that long career as a kicker in this league.
I believe 2021, when they beat Calgary, he got the winning field goal at the end of the Western semifinal, and just unfortunately they ran back into the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and weren't able to get a chance to the Grey Cup. It was a great year for him then. But I think if you told him that he would have struggles this season, but he would win the Grey Cup at the end, I think he would take it.
I think so too. And Kean Schaefer-Baker continuing to keep the crowd into this as everybody takes their moment with the cup at the legislature. You know, and it's I'd have to double check on this, but this is something that's just so Riders. It's so Saskatchewan. You know, it's some of the other markets, when there are these championship parades, they'll make their way to a stage or something like that. But for us, it's right to the provincial capital,
right to the legislative building, and always welcome with open arms. In 07 and in 13, it was Brad Wall, Grant Devine back in '89, I believe, if I remember the video, and. It would have been Scott Moe today. Of course, as mentioned, he is in Washington, but many of the SAS Party MLAs, the NDP MLAs, showing off their green jerseys and showing their support and celebrating. They may have differences in that legislature, but when it comes to the football team, they all agree who number one is.
Well, and if you watched Question Period today, almost everybody had a Rider jersey on under their suit jackets, as we mentioned a little earlier on. So, you know, it just goes to show that how much the Riders play a role in just in uniting the province and everyone in it. You know, you can see how much Rider green is in the crowd as well, as people look to and get their glimpse of the Grey Cup. Which is, how high of a distance is it up to that balcony, do you think?
High enough.
High enough.
But fans aren't leaving. You saw a shot there, and people continue to show their support. Mario Alford is leaning down at, well, giving someone a beer. But he had a pretty big return in that Grey Cup. Not a touchdown, but set up good field position for them. That ended up, if I believe, turning into some points. So he had some injury issues this year as well, but this is a moment for sure that he's not going to forget. He was the one, by the way, that got stopped during the last speech that was about to say something, and it was time to move on, so to speak.
Well, you got to keep the show moving at least a little bit, as much as you can. The any championship parade, though, like we've talked about, has been controlled chaos for the most part. Arriving at the legislature a little bit earlier than we initially anticipated, as we see the Grey Cup start to make its way back inside from as we look to probably see towards this starting to wrap up here, but we'll stay with it and see where things go for a little while longer anyway.
So things slowly starting to wrap up at this legislative building, as fans still there. They'll want to see the Grey Cup come up one more time out of the front doors and show their appreciation one more time. And who knows, knowing the excitement of this team, they might walk around and let every single person there get a touch of it. Just an indication of what it means to be a Saskatchewan Roughrider. All right, let's come back to the studio now, as we're going to wrap things up here, as our hour-and-a-half coverage of the Grey Cup parade is officially over. And Cole, great conditions once again, probably the best conditions we've had when it comes to Grey Cup parades, above seasonal, above zero, but good turnout, good crowd, and the celebration's just beginning, really.
It's almost like our weather specialist was there to make sure the conditions were good.
Sabine helped out this time. Usually she's a bit of a jinx. This time, not so much. They won, and a successful Grey Cup parade for sure. Our coverage will continue at 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock. We'll have more on the parade. We'll take a look back at past parades, as well as all the news that you need on the Grey Cup champions, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, in 2025. Thank you for joining us.